What's up, YouTube? Zachary Michaels here. I'm an actor, and this is An Actor Reacts. Today we'll be talking about Season 1 of Maxxx, the new show from OT Fagbenle. Let's discuss. Before we get started, if you're new to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Maxxx is a new sitcom written and directed by OT Fagbenle, who also stars as the titular character. The full first season premiered on Hulu in the US on July 28, 2020, prior to the series' full UK run on Channel 4. The series is a remake of OT's 2017 miniseries of the same name and centers around a formerly famous boyband star turned drug-shamed tabloid laughingstock. Maxxx tries to make a comeback to prove to the world and his famous ex-supermodel girlfriend that he's not the massive loser that everyone says he is. Okay, so earlier in quarantine, I watched Handmaid's Tale for the first time. I binged all 3 seasons, I believe. And Luke, played by OT, was my favorite character in that show. And I started following him, so I was excited to learn about this series, Maxxx, and see OT and a comedic character, because Luke, while he's my favorite, he's very serious and brooding throughout the show. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of see the other side of what he can do as an actor. And this show and his acting, for the most part, I was not disappointed at all. So let's get into the good, the bad, and I'll tell you my rating for season 1 of Maxxx. Okay, so the good. I've actually got, again, quite a bit of good on this show. I did see the miniseries back from 2017, when I learned about this show and that it was based on something that I'd done before. I went and watched it. It was quick. They're 3 mini episodes, maybe 5 minutes each on YouTube. And I really enjoyed that, so I was excited to see the full series. And they, for the most part, they took that miniseries and expanded on it a bit. And I thought it worked really well. They took the best elements from that and really amped it up, I guess. Now, this show is a quick, easy, and enjoyable watch. It's only 6 episodes. Each episode is 30 minutes, actually a little less than 30 minutes. Each episode is around 20 minutes each. So you can watch this whole season in under 3 hours. It was one of the easiest binges that I've ever done. Let's see what else. And then some shows are just too long, they drag out the episodes. So the fact that this was, quick and right to the point, I thought worked really well and for the show and to its benefit. I actually maybe could have even done with a few more episodes. And I think that's a good thing, that it left me wanting more. So that's that. And then the show, as far as the comedy, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a funny show. Now, I'm not someone who generally likes UK style of comedy, but I really enjoyed this. Honestly, this show kind of felt more of American style comedy. UK comedy is a little more dry humor, which it has some of for sure, but I feel it gets into that kind of US kind of craziness, you know what I mean? I feel it's a really good mix of the two styles of comedy, because I know they go over the top in the UK comedy as well, but I don't know, it had enough American style and flavor, I guess, that it was still kind of appealing to me and what I like to see in my comedies. Let's see what else. In the comedy, though, I was never quite, I'm looking at my notes, but I was never quite I wasn't oh gosh, this is hilarious, laughing, but it kept me entertained and it made me feel good. And it was a witty kind of humor, I guess, kind of tongue-in-cheek sometimes. And then I loved that there was even though it's a comedy, I think that the show did a really good job of, and even an over-the-top comedy, it did a really good job of bringing in those honest moments. We're big and we're over the top, but we have those moments where we just reel it all in and it's really honest. And I think that's when the best comedy for me comes out, when it kind of reels back the big antics and it's just like real, because then it's like, whoa, that was subtle and real, and that's more funny for me, because it's like, I get to laugh at, we got to laugh at like how preposterous life is sometimes, and when the series like pulls back and just puts out something honest, it's like, oh wow, that's really how it is. Like that's when the comedy and the drama really come together for me, and I think they do a good job of that throughout the series. And I think that leads me into like the cast and the characters. I think that the cast really talented. They're led by OT, who is a great actor, and OT does an amazing job as Max. Like I said, the show has a good mix of outrageous comedy and real honest moments, and that's with like crediting OT at the forefront, because one, he like wrote and directed the show too, but like as an actor, he does such a great job of making one, those big outrageous moments still believable, but also when he gets to have those like tender soft moments and those tears are welling up in his eyes and he's just like real and raw and emotional, it's like, oh, this guy's so good at what he does, So shout out to OT. You did your thing on all fronts in this show. And then I really like the supporting characters, or most of the supporting characters. We'll get into the few I didn't like and my bad. But Tamsin, played by, I didn't actually look up anyone's names, but I'll put your name and your picture on the screen. But the character of Tamsin, she's like that classic type A personality. She's like she becomes the manager of Maxx in trying to get his revival up off the ground. She's like the straight man to his funny guy. And, it's that classic relationship. I think she does it really well. And, we get to explore some layers of her character as well. I think that's another good part of the show and the characters, is that it it's not like we get to dive into the characters, which I love. Um, but she's like that classic type A personality, stuffy, and then Maxx, throughout the show opens her up a bit and we get to see more of her. And I really enjoy her. She's one, the kind of character that I think I'll be playing in my career, and then just the kind of character that like I kind of relate to in real life, because I'm the more her out of all the characters in the show. I maybe really, or maybe her and Amit as well, but I'm more of them, so I definitely like the character. But and then there was also Rose. She is like the hilarious cousin who's really obsessed with Maxx, and again, she's his cousin, but she has this like really deep obsession with him, and she's just kind of weird and quirky and offbeat. I loved her as well, and like she's big and grand too, like Maxx, but it's, I don't know, it's a different level, and she, just like him, is able to make it so real and authentic, and it doesn't feel like cheap. So shout out to her. She did her thing, and I really love that character. A great comedic relief in the series. And then there was also Amit, who is Max's adopted son. And I love this character as well. This, like, Tamsin is like the kind of character that I'll be playing in my career, and the kind of character that I kind of relate to the most. He's this shy, kind of introverted kid. Um, and he is kind of the father figure in the relationship with Maxx, but we also get to see kind of the kid side of him. He's going through this new relationship in this series, and him trying to get fatherly advice from Maxx, and figure out life and what he likes, and kind of trying to come out of his shell. And I thought it was done really well with his relationship with Rox, who is another character that I like. Now, Rox is a non-binary character, and what I loved about Rox is just 100% themselves. Like, the really good character. And what I like about having this character in the show, I I've said it before, but I like being introduced to new things in a show. And this show introduces this character, or seeing new things, I should say. This show introduces this character, and their gender identity, is not a big part of it. Like, it's mentioned, the fact that they're non-binary. It's brought up in passing, but nobody's like been out of shape about it. There's nobody that's like, you can't, or to Amit, like, you can't like this person, you know, what are they? They're like, there's none of those big moments. Like, Max is supportive of the relationship. Amit doesn't think twice about it. Like, it's like an afterthought, you know, in the show. And I thought that was a really nice touch, and hopefully a place that we can get to in the world where like gender identity and sexual orientation and stuff isn't such a big deal. It's just like a part of life, and we take it and move on. But I liked seeing the relationship between Amit and Rox develop throughout the show. It was just really interesting and honest and pure. And I really enjoyed all those characters and seeing their journeys throughout the show. And something I forgot to mention, I loved also the relationship between Tamsin and Max with the straight man and the comedy guy, like their relationship, and it grow into this really interesting friendship and potentially maybe more. I don't know, minor spoiler, but I liked seeing them grow. I liked the music in the show as well. It wasn't too big of a part, even though he's a music star. But there was a song in there that I really enjoyed, and OT's got a pretty decent voice. Um, yeah, I think that's all I got. I enjoyed the cast and the characters. I thought the comedy in the show was really great. It had that over the top flavor, but when it brought in those really honest and real moments, I think the show was at its best when it had the mix of the two. So that's all I got for my good. Now let's get into my bad. Okay, so the bad. Now, I honestly don't have that much bad for this series, but there were a few things that I wanted to touch on. The comedy, I mentioned it being over the top. It did get a little cringe at a few moments, and the episodes did feel a little bit uneven, I guess, and like I guess like the first two episodes, well, actually the pilot was pretty good, but like the second episode and then like kind of the last two were like okay for me, but I really enjoyed like those middle two episodes, like episode 3 and 4. I think the show got into a really good stride, and it was that perfect mix of the comedy and drama. Oh gosh, the comedy and drama. So I enjoyed that, but overall, I do think it felt a little uneven. But the show is still, you know, first season, getting a hold of everything. I Chris Maloney's character, I did not like. I was not a fan of the character. He had that big over the top energy like Max and like Rose, but there was no redeeming factor about his character. He was only like he was probably the least developed character in the show because he was only big and loud and angry, and there was no other levels to him. So it wasn't an enjoyable character for me to watch. I maybe would have even taken his character out of the show. I guess he kind of pushes the story along a bit because he is the one who like he's Max's old manager, and Max comes to him to like help to get his career back, and then he sets up him and Rose, but it's not him and Rose, but him and Tamsin. But I don't know. I wish maybe him and Tamsin could have come together in another way because I just did not like it. I did not like the character, and then his character played a big role in the second episode of this season, and I did not like that episode at all. That was for sure my least favorite episode. There's this storyline with Chris Maloney's character and Max at this party that they're at that I just thought was way too over the top, unnecessary, added nothing to the series, and it just felt like a waste of time for me, honestly. Really don't like that character, honestly. And then there was another character who appeared throughout. This character was a ghost from Max's past who kind of gave the exposition of like what was going on in Max's mind. Could have done without that. It felt a little like I was picking up already on what Max was going through, so I didn't need this ghost character telling me, you know, exactly what it was. So those two characters I could have done without. And then, like I said, overall, the episodes did feel a little unbalanced. But I did enjoy it. But the ending I also did not like. Like I like to see my characters progress. And Max is kind of progressing throughout the series, but that second to last episode, he didn't regress in that episode, but it felt kind of like I was like, okay, can we get somewhere? And then the last episode, it actually felt like a regression. Like, on one hand, especially with what happened in that second to last episode, like by the end of that second to last episode, it's like, okay, like I felt like what's happening, but it was a setup for a good setup for what I thought the finale episode was going to be. But then when we got to the finale episode, it seemed to be treading the same water as the previous, and I was like, oh, okay, I thought we were growing, thought we were moving on, and it didn't do that. And so that was just little that leads into like my unbalanced thing, and then like actual ending where that final episode ended up on, it was not satisfying for me at all. And it wasn't necessarily a bad ending, but for me, it was not satisfying. I wanted to see more happen, which, like I said before, like I could have done with a couple more episodes, but I guess they can get into the more character development and the more what happens with the story in season 2 if they get approved for season 2, which at this point I don't know if they will, because while I enjoyed the series, I have not been seeing much buzz about this show at all. So who knows if they're even going to get a second season. So if they don't, I will definitely be disappointed in this ending because they didn't go where I wanted them to go, and they could have. But I think that's all I got for my bad. I don't think it was bad overall. Like I said, I enjoyed it. There's just a few cringy moments. Some of the episodes are a little unbalanced, and the characters that I don't like. And then I was left a little disappointed and wanting more with where the season ended. That's all I got for the bad. Now let's get into my final thoughts, and I'll tell you my rating for season 1 of the show. Okay, so like I've said many times already, I enjoyed this show. I think that it had a really good mix of over the top comedy and real realistic moments. I think the cast and characters for the most part are really well developed and really just interesting to watch, and they each have something that makes them special, except for the two that I mentioned. I'm excited to see more from this show. I hope that they get a season 2. Fingers crossed. But there was something weird with the show. Like, it ran the first 3 episodes and then got pulled from the airwaves in UK on Channel 4, and then it premiered the full season in the US. But they're saying it's supposed to finish the series run in the UK later on this year, but I don't know. As far as I could tell from the research I was doing, there hasn't been a date set yet for when the rest of the season is going to run on the UK. I'm thinking maybe it was a little too risque. I don't know. I don't know how their standards for TV are in the UK, but it is a little risque, the show. I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's that over-the-top comedy, and in that over-the-top comedy, there are some things that are a bit like, ooh, a little taboo, I guess. So there's that, and then my rating for the show. I would give season 1 of Maxxx, which is hopefully not the last season, I'd give season 1 an 8.5 out of 10. I think that accounts for how much I enjoyed it, but the things that I thought detracted from it. Really good show. Fingers crossed for season 2. But if not, I think that they did their thing in season 1, and they just could have gone a little bit further for me. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this series if you've already watched it, or let me know if you're going to check it out. I would definitely recommend it to anyone if you're just looking for a fun time. It's a quick watch. Again, you can watch it in under 3 hours. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thanks for stopping by. See y'all next time.